Hello, my name is Tom Stiles, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show number 54. I got some good news. Some very good news as far as I'm concerned. Remember, I had a show, about 3 or 4 shows ago, about my scanner radio had gone deaf, thinking that was being caused by the fact that the local sheriff's office had rebanded. And I also noticed that about that same time when my radio went dead, that the radio I listened to on Radio Reference, which is a service that people put their scanners on the internet and so other people can listen to. Since my radio had died, I thought, well, I'll start using them to get reception of the local sheriff's office and EMS. Well, lo and behold, they were gone. They were offline. Still there, but offline. So I figured, well, they must have had a scanner like mine and went brain dead. So I was kind of like in bad shape. Couldn't listen to my scanner anymore. And then a couple weeks later, the scanner on the internet came back alive again. So I thought, well, maybe he bought himself a new scanner that he could reband and be back on the air. So I figured that was the case. So I was using my phone or my tablet or whatever to listen to the local sheriff's office instead of using my scanner. Then, about 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine called me and said, hey, my scanner's gone dead. What's wrong? And I told him what my experience was and the fact that what had probably happened is something called rebanding, and I tried to explain to him what rebanding was. And he said, okay, I guess I have to look in to get a new scanner, da-da-da-da. Well, about 2 days later, he calls me back, and he's gotten his radio working. Now, his radio is older than mine. So I'm figuring, what's the deal here? So he tells me that he had gone to Radio Reference and saw this guy's scanner like I was doing and found out either through an email or something that was posted that this guy was using a scanner that was older than both of ours and had it working. And there was a comment on his page that said they didn't reband, they just changed their frequencies. So this friend of mine, he reprogrammed and put in the new frequencies, and it started working. So he called me and says, hey, there's nothing wrong with your radio, you just got to reprogram it. Well, I had attempted to do that during the course of this time, and the program that I used originally to program this thing for the trunking, which gets a little tedious. When I tried to use it a couple weeks ago, it said expired. You had your trial period, can't use it. So I just, again, put the scanner in the corner and said, man, forget it. Well, he, like I say, has an older scanner than I did, and he uses the same program. Well, similar program. It's for the older scanner, and it worked fine. So what I did is I said, let me try putting a version of that software on one of my newer computers that doesn't have a serial port, but I had bought in the meantime an adapter for USB to serial. So I loaded the program on there, and it didn't work. The program worked, but it couldn't see my scanner. It wouldn't see it. And I thought, well, I've never done this using the converter from USB to serial to program this little baby. And I wasn't even sure I had the right cable, because I had a cable for my old scanner, which was a Pro-97, and I thought I had a different cable for this Pro-97. So I couldn't get it to work. So he says, my friend says, come on to my house and we'll see if we get it to work. Because mine works, and we can use the programming the program for the 97 in his cables and get it programmed. So that's what we did. So over his house, we keyed in all this information for Pinellas County, and sure enough, his cable worked with my scanner. And we programmed my scanner, and lo and behold, it's working. So in the interim, what I did is when I got back home, I forgot to tell you, what we also did is I took my cables and my USB to serial port adapter to his house, so that when we finally got it working with his stuff, we switched over to my cables and got it working fine. So there was nothing wrong with my cables. So I got back home and I downloaded the software and tried it with that cable set that worked at his house, and it was working. It worked. I could download what was already on here that he put on there, plus I could upload that file to another scanner I have just like this, and it worked too. So that has solved my problem. So it turns out Pinellas County, which is what I'm listening to, did not reband, in other words, move around to a different band like 700 megahertz. They just changed their frequencies in the 800 megahertz band. Now, why they did that, I don't know. But anyway, that's what they did. So my old Pro-97 still works and is alive once again. So good way to start the year, some positive note. So if you happen to have a Pro-97, there's a chance that it may not be going dead if your county or whatever is only changing their frequencies in the 800 megahertz band and not rebanding. So I got lucky. I'm still on the air. So that's the show for today. If you have any comments or questions or something you'd like me to review, please leave me a message, send me an email, or whatever. Bye-bye.